Welcome to the Sport and Society Squad Pod, aka The Sass. Each week, we bring you 3 sport or society stories to break down and give you our sassiest takes. With those sassy takes, we do want to give you a content warning that some of the language used on the pod may be explicit. We ask that you please, I ask that you please just be mindful of where you're listening and who you are listening with. With that, let's get into it. I'm here with my co-host Chelsea. How we doing, my gal pal? Always got to have the accent comes out when I
my
stumble.
gal pal.
My gal pal.
When I've got allergies, I feel like it's like a different like tone of my voice, so I always want to put on like an accent. I'm like, I'm not from here, you know, like it sounds,
Not me.
Yeah, like I'm kind of nicely, just not in like an accent way, but in a biological way. I don't know. Yeah, it's allergy season. Well, it seems like maybe for any listeners, it's always allergy season for me, but it's worse right now. Okay, so that is I. I'm good. That is I. But anyways, before we get started, I just want to go through the playbook. Oh, no, I don't want to go through the playbook. I want to go through a quick huddle. So we're going to cover a few sport and society highlights from this past week so our listeners feel like they are in the know with all the sports and pop culture things going on in the world, I guess. Here are a few huddle highlights that we won't be breaking down in depth, but we think are important to know. So in sport news, and more specifically in golf news, this name kills me. JJ Spawn won the U.S. Open this past weekend. This was cool. Not only was it his first major tournament win, but he was the only player in the entire tournament that was under par. So pop off,
awesome.
JJ.
By one, right? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I was just like, damn. And I guess like the guy who won last year, I guess like had a moment in one of the like locker rooms and broke some stuff because he was like not playing well, and I guess the course maybe conditions weren't the best, but
I heard it's a challenging course. Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
I know all about golf.
I'm like, I've never
heard from this one article headline that I read about it.
You're like, I heard a whisper in the wind. Anyways, in MNBA, it's so fucking hard to say. I feel like they did that on purpose. Desmond Bane was traded from the Memphis Grizzlies to the Orlando Magic for 4 first-round picks. So Orlando, this is huge news in basketball world.
Orlando Magic haven't made a trade like this since 2019. There's a lot of things we don't have to get into it. Not to be basketball heavy.
They're going to say 2009.
Well, that's 6 years.
Fair. Feels like the pandemic just happened. Anyway, in soccer news, the men's, which this was a whole thing for me last night, the Men's Club World Cup kicked off games this past weekend. This is separate from just the World Cup. It's the Club World Cup. So it's really just a preview for the World Cup that starts.
World Cup. How many times can you say World Cup in a sentence?
World Cup. It's a preview for the World Cup that is supposed to happen next summer. And then for anyone in the Pacific Northwest, there are a few games in Seattle. So let's go Sounders. I am going to a game. I don't think
the Sounders game or the World Cup game?
Well, the Sounders are playing in a few of these World Cup games.
Oh.
I know.
The Sounders are?
The Sounders are.
Separate from U.S. Oh.
It's
CONCACAF?
This is why I was so confused last night, because I said, what do you mean there's a World Cup and a FIFA World Cup and they're different?
Yeah. I know that they're different.
But the Sounders aren't playing like United States. It's like I don't get.
But okay, we'll talk about this later.
Maybe this is a story next week.
Because is the World Cup is different than the CONCACAF?
Yeah, and this is different than the CONCACAF as well, from my understanding. Okay. Yeah, so CONCACAF. What is? You know what? We'll Google later.
We'll maybe talk about it next week.
I think it's for me. I think it's for me. What's the difference between these things?
Yeah, that's a good story. Already figured out Chelsea's story for next week.
Thanks to the listeners. Anyways, Savannah Sutherland from Michigan this past week broke U.S. track and field legend Sydney McLaughlin-Lavron's NCAA 400-meter hurdle record.
That's
so
awesome. Snaps to Savannah.
I don't even think I can get over one of those. So that's huge. It's like probably half my height, to be honest with you. And my nose is just going. In F1 news, George Russell, racing for Mercedes, won the Canadian Grand Prix this past weekend. So this was Russell's first one of the season, and I guess snaps and hats off to him.
He's a little cutie patootie. I just saw a picture of him.
Oh, I didn't even see a pic.
It's a cute. He looks young. He looks like so that's why he's a cutie
George,
patootie.
Watch out! Somebody on the podcast has a crush. Okay. Oh,
just kidding.
Whoops! In society news, and quite shockingly, in more soccer news, but also more like music news. Call it a crossover if you dare. This is where it gets crazy. The FIFA World Cup announced that they'll be showcasing the first ever halftime show for the final game in the tournament. It's confirmed so far that the headlining performers are Doja Cat, J Balvin, and Tems. I think it's Tems. So this concert / performance will be in the summer of 2026. And the halftime show will support the FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund, which aims to raise $100 million to provide access to quality education and soccer to children around the world.
How does question, but how does the halftime show raise money? Because they'll get some of the tickets, or you have to pay extra to what?
I think there was something with like ticket, like the amount of whoever gets tickets. Jesus Christ, whoever gets tickets to the game, I think a portion of it goes to this. I think is my understanding. So that's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, we're getting another football halftime show, if you will.
They're just trying to get those crossovers wherever they can.
It's true. In celebrity couple news, singer Dua Lipa officially confirmed that she is engaged to Callum Turner, the actor. So congrats to those two. There was a rumor going around for quite some time, but she finally confirmed it. And somehow it became breaking news on AP, which I thought was a little bit of a wild thing for that news. Yeah, but you know what? Dua's big. Callum's there. In video game news, which this I thought was so crazy but so interesting, the strike, they've been on strike. The strike between the video game actors and major game developers was suspended after a tentative deal was made earlier last week. There's no details on that agreement, but if you didn't know, which I didn't until last night, the video game actors have been on strike for almost a year. So they started striking last July, and we're we're fighting for protections against generative AI. So very similar to the writer and actors strike that happened in 2023. So I thought that was interesting. I hope that they got, a good deal out of it, but it makes total sense.
Yeah. I know the person that voiced whatever the Halo voice.
What? What kind Halo? Of crazy fun fact is that?
I know. It was
I've heard of Halo. I've never played.
But I never thought about like voice acting in video games and what a big deal it is until I met her. And I was like, oh, that's legit. Like, you're traveling all over and going to these like Comic-Cons and stuff like that.
She's just like, hey, I'm here. Every time in the mic, they're like, oh my God. No, apparently it's a huge deal. And I guess the more you know, right?
Yeah.
This one I selfishly didn't for me, but
I did see this and I was like, really? This is the highlight? But
it is huge news in the community that has been captured.
Chelsea's community.
So in TV news, the official trailer for the final season of the Summer I Turned Pretty dropped for fans last week. So the show is slated to premiere on July 16 on Prime. And I'm just like wondering, not only like for you, but like for our fans, like what fucking Taylor Swift songs are going to be wildly wrapped into this one? Because that show is basically just a reenactment of like multiple albums. And sometimes they're a little surprising. Like they played Snow on the Beach when they weren't on the beach. And then later in the show, it was snowing on the beach. I was like, I feel like we missed an opportunity. So I'm interested. Will we get tortured poets? Curioso.
Maybe I'll watch the show.
If you want to like have some major drama and feel like you are about to turn pretty this summer, like you already are, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Aww.
yeah. Yeah, of course. Everybody get into it. Sorry, this is not an ad, but maybe it is. And then I hate to end us on a sad note, but in sad news, we did have 2 celebrity deaths last week. So we did just want to send love and light to the family and friends of MTV's Amanda Lewis. She used to host TRL in the 90s, if you aren't familiar. And then Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. So, I'm sorry.
That's always why we end on the sad one. So what a huddle, Chelsea.
I know. I thought about moving it last time. And I was like,
well, let's get into today's playbook. So today we'll dive into all the latest on the PWHL expansion draft. And then we will end with a discussion on Miley Cyrus's visual album and fan interactions.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to get us started with our first story. So the PWHL, which stands for Professional Women's Hockey League, and the NHL is currently still in the finals. By the time of this airing, we might have a Stanley Cup crowned winner. It's right now trending to look like the Panthers are going to, Florida Panthers are going to take it, but you never know. Edmonton might come back and then they may force a Game 7. So it's been a long series, but
it's June 16th. I'm sorry.
I know, it's crazy. But I did, because we touched on it a little bit on the highlight, but I thought it would be fun to talk women's hockey with the expansion draft that are happening, and that Seattle's getting hockey here on the West Coast for the women's side. So a little background I think would be helpful. So the Professional Women's Hockey League, PWHL, it launched January 1st, 2024. So it's still very new, and it started with 6 teams. So this expansion is with, now we have 8. So with the first 6 were Boston, Minnesota, Montreal, New York, Ottawa, and Toronto. And it's, got the best women's hockey talent in the world. There's already over 1 million fans. They've had multiple attendance records, even global attendance records for women's hockey games. It's got some unique rules compared to hockey. I know we've talked on it a little bit, but I wanted to go over some of those because I don't know anything about hockey and it still sounded cool. So they have a point system, rewards aggression is what it calls. So like you get, and we've talked about this for like, I think soccer also has this. So for like, you get 3 points for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime win, 1 for an overtime loss, and 0 for a regulation loss. So then you get like a point system and some other like gameplay innovations. They have the jailbreak rule, which is I think the one we've talked about, where minor penalties end if a shorthanded goal is scored, so you can like break out of jail, which reminds me of being a kid. Do you ever have a jailbreak rule where like capture the flag?
And then they go jailbreak. I remember doing that when I was like in elementary school, and everyone's like, you're so right.
Chaos.
Yeah. that I can like literally see myself exactly in the gym, like from 6th grade specifically. Like, wow, you unlocked something.
Child memory that I had buried deep. They have a no escape rule. So I don't quite know what this means, but it means penalized players can't change before next face-off.
I think that just means they can't change the like. Well, I was gonna say the players that are on the ice, because they do changes of like.
Oh, who's maybe?
It's just a rumor.
There's automatic reviews for head checks, so they prioritize player safety. So it's not as physical as men's hockey.
I bet you someone's gonna still. Let's get a slap going.
This one I think was cool. So they have a playoff draft pick strategy. So the number 1 seed for the playoff chooses its semifinal opponent
Whoa.
so there's only 4 teams make the playoffs. And then what happens is the number 1 seed gets to choose if they want to play the number 3 or the number 4 in the first round.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I think that's kind of cool. Like I wonder as they add more teams if they'll still keep that kind of rule. But I kind of like that being able to pick your opponent strategy.
I think it switches it up. You know what I mean? Like that's a fun way to switch it up.
Yeah. So there's 9 countries represented in the PWHL, and
list them off.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I could, like, if it was like listed in the article, but I didn't think someone was going to tell me to list off all 9 fucking countries. So they've got a lot coming straight from a college. So it's for the professional league. It's a cool pipeline because I know for other sports there's Anyways, so the draft, we had Seattle was the expansion team and Vancouver. So they're their first 2 West Coast teams. So there's a lot.
Sweet.
These have been all East Coast because East Coast and like up there in Canada is definitely a lot more, I would say, hockey focused, especially they're talking about like girls programs and not as much in the Pacific Northwest. I always think that's interesting. When you added 2 teams, how the travel, they have to do a lot of East Coast travel. But one of the things they did for this draft was they wanted it to be each of the original 6 teams lost 4 players through the signing window. Wow. And only 3 teams could be protected because one of the thing is they call it parity prioritize over protecting dynasties because they wanted Seattle and Vancouver to be instantly competitive to help draw fans in. Some people love that. Some people, like New York, who's been dead last for the last 2 years, lost its second leading scorer.
Okay.
And so they weren't very happy about it. But that's East Coast has more more momentum when it comes to like hockey.
Also, should you be frontlined with like the best people who have had chemistry when you're also traveling the least? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So another one, like Vancouver poached 4 of Minnesota's top 8 scorers. So,
damn,
it didn't go too far. I mean, I think we got the better end of the stick. So
I was gonna say of the hockey stick. I heard that Seattle has a stacked team. Yeah, like people were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, they had said Hillary Knight, Alex Carpenter, and Jesse Eldridge, 3 of the top goal scorers. 3 of the top 15 goal scorers from last year.
That shit's gonna be so fun to go to, though. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I was like looking at it because Seattle again is not a hotbed for girls hockey, but they had like over 12,000 fans show up during a trial game. Vancouver nearly had 20,000 fans in attendance. The league was also interesting with the league right now. It's a single entity model. So there's one owner, I think it's the same owner as the LA Dodgers, owns the league versus having like the teams being separate.
Interesting.
But I'm actually really excited for this because I haven't been able to go to a Kraken game because tickets are expensive.
Tickets guess what? I'll take you next year.
Okay, finally. Thank you. Yeah. But I was like, I tried to look up to see if you can get season tickets already for the women's side because they do also play at Climate Pledge. It's so precious.
I love my Climate Precious.
So they'll be playing at Climate Pledge, which I love. And I was like, I'll probably be able to get a game there. The season, I think, kicks off like November 30th. When I went to go see, they aren't selling season tickets yet. And you can click on the link to do the deposit for a season ticket. And then it is an error and says, "Will come back in the morning."
Anybody want to sponsor us having a season ticket? We'll go.
And I'm actually, here's my question prediction.
What are they going to be called?
Yeah, what do you think the branding is going to be?
Seattle Sockeyes. I don't know.
Sockeye salmon.
Why not, man? They already got some fish that they throw at the end of the Kraken game. Just get a couple more.
Yeah, sockeye salmon.
What do you want them to call the Seattle Sirens?
I don't know. I don't really have.
That would be kind of fun with the whole Kraken theme. Is just all of a sudden you see like a mermaid come out in one of the ads, and you're like, "What is that?"
But I want it to be like for some reason, for me, that feels too like the men's is like Kraken and Siren is like the sexy woman.
Well,
it's women's hockey.
I don't love that.
I'm like, what if it's like
the walruses
trident or something? I'm like, what's a female water goddess?
Could they do? Well, I think it's a siren. Fuck. What do you want them to be called? The mermaids?
No,
the tridents. The tridents would be cool. That would be cool. They just have. There's no mascot, just a trident. They're like, why does that hockey team have a fork? You know what I mean? I mean, Kraken at the time, I get it, but it didn't feel like too intuitive. What else could they be? You think they're going to go totally different and leave the water? I would think that if you're trying to like be budget conscious, like kind of play on what's already there and how you can partner with the Kraken, you know?
Yeah.
And build like a cross branding between teams.
I thought the Kraken was an interesting
it is interesting.
Name all on its own. So
I think anything could happen.
Yeah.
Anything could
I just hope it's not stupid. Like Toronto. When Toronto's WNBA team did the Toronto Tempo, and I'm like, Seattle Cascades. Like people are saying things like a Seattle Cascade or Seattle Emeralds, and I'm like, that's kind of just.
What if they say Seattle Sound? Like with tempo. It's the sound versus the tempo.
This one says the Seattle Fairies. I'm like, stop. Like, I think I'd rather go.
Wait, sorry, what? Someone's reading too much Akhtar.
No, like the ferry boats.
Oh. Just asked myself.
I was like, wait, Akhtar? How's that?
Why would they be the fairies? What?
I don't know.
Okay.
And apparently, people say the Seattle Siren team name will never happen. So.
Okay. Wow. Shit. I didn't even know there was chatter about it. Like,
the Seattle, and then like Seattle Valkyrie would be cool, but the San Francisco just named their WNBA team that. So
the Valkyrie.
Who's to say?
Literally, who's to say? I'm also sorry to the listeners. I just said sirens because I thought of like, you know, what's a good double S? Seattle Sockeye, Seattle Sirens. And you know what? Get your head out of the gutter. What if I was just talking about sirens on top of a car?
Just like you're talking like flying ferries instead of ferry boats.
You never know in the world of sports. Anyways, I think that's our sign to transition. IDK. But
we can't be alone together on this podcast. We just digress so much.
All of a sudden, we're in a fairy novel that has like sirens that are not like actual sirens, but like, yeah. Anyways. Okay. So I want to talk today about the Miley Cyrus of it all. And I don't know, do you know what I'm kind of referring to or not at all? Do you like
only what you've briefly mentioned last week to me, so not really. I only thing I know about Miley Cyrus lately was the stuff with her voice and not being able to tour.
Okay, absolutely. Well, and I feel like that already will speak to something that I have critique about. Okay. So, anyways, I wanted to give a little context, not only for you, but for our listeners of like how we got to where we are today, and then get your thoughts on like a fan interaction that happened at like a recent event. So I think we know, and most people know, but if they don't know, Miley Cyrus flew to fame from the Disney Channel original show Hannah Montana at the age of 13. So she was very young. She's been in the spotlight for quite some time. She's been in a few movies. She did that show for quite a bit of time, but turned to music, and to date has released 9 studio albums.
Wow.
So in my mind, Girly has kept us fed. She's been giving us, and not only like
some bangers.
How dare you? That's one of the studio album's titles.
Is it?
Isn't it?
I have no idea.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's the Bangers era, I'm pretty sure. Let's look it up.
I don't know. Well,
yeah, it's literally Bangers. I fucking dare you. That was an era, okay?
I'm just so good, I don't even know.
You're so funny. I'm like, that to me says that pop culture has gotten deep into the psyche.
The subconscious.
Yeah. So, 9 studio albums. I will also say she's given us like a ton of different genres. So, like, not only are we getting the same type of music from her, we're getting like all kinds of stuff, which I'm not like the biggest Miley Cyrus fan, but I will always support a girly pop. She's wildly talented. And I'm also like, this is fucking cool from an artist, especially with her level of fame. So as I think we already mentioned earlier this year in the highlights, she was slated to release that 9th studio album, and she did so on May 30th. So not even a month ago, she released it, which it's called Something Beautiful. And this follows just like her big year. She won her first Grammy. Then she also was featured on the Cowboy Carter album with Beyonce. So she's had a big year. And I honestly think it was like a little bit surprising that she was releasing an album like right after. So again, I can't be mad. She then surprised fans when she announced, which kind of brings us to where I'm going, a visual album that would accompany that new 9th studio album. So visual album is just like basically like a long music video with all of the songs and different things. So I don't know. It was slated to come out. Fans were like, what the heck? But it did. It just came out, I think, on
just the other week. I listened to part of it. Or
yeah,
the visual, yeah.
The visual came out on June 12th. Oh. I haven't seen it yet, clearly, but I'm excited to see what she does, right? So just snaps to Miley. I think she's given us a lot. She keeps kind of rediscovering herself. And I think we've got iconic moments, but something that happened on the lead up to this visual album is what I like really want to talk about. Mm-hmm. So Miley went to the Tribeca Film Festival to promote this visual album. So that's in New York City. She was there with the co-producers of the project, the co-director. So she was like really there to go like talk about this film and just kind of celebrate and have a discussion about it at this film festival. While like she went on stage to discuss it, and while she was on stage, they like kept being interrupted by fans or people in the I'm saying fans because I feel sassy about it, but people in the crowd. Yeah. A fan in the audience like kept yelling so much, and like you could kind of see I saw a clip of it. Miley was kind of like not like really sure, like should I look over or should I just like try to be in this like actual discussion, which is what we're here for. A fan actually then, and I'll say in quotes, read what they said. They screamed, "We thought this was a concert. We paid $800 at her," which.
For the film festival. You didn't pay Miley Cyrus. She's at the fucking film festival.
Yeah, like
it's a film festival.
I know, and that's the thing where it's like I guess at any event like singing can happen. Like I was Googling it. Like sometimes they do have performers who like sing, especially if it is like a film like this where it's a visual album or stuff like that. But at the same time, like you said, it's a fucking film festival. Like you can't just expect that like automatically that means there's going to be a performance. And I don't know, at first I was feeling salty that like was it anywhere on the ticket that they said that she was going to perform? But like okay, but before I jump all the way down that rabbit hole, this kind of continued. Miley like first continued to kind of just like look shocked, like whoa, like because they weren't stopping and then like yelling pretty like in my mind wild things at her. And I don't know if it was the same fan or another person, but then someone just kept fucking screaming and someone said, "Sing the Climb." So a reference back to Hannah Montana. That was one of her big pop songs. And you guys, that was like 10, 12, 15 years ago.
I was like 20 maybe.
I'm pretty sure I was in high school. So it was at least 15 years ago that this song came out. Like, I don't know. So Miley then kind of like played with the crowd, and I think she said something like, "Only if you start first." And she ended up singing a few like bits of like lyrics with the crowd singing with her, which I don't know. I thought was really generous. So that's the thing I just wanted to talk about today because I thought the interaction was really interesting. The two things that I guess I would say are my quote unquote grievances with this is just that, like, almost like what you said, and I'm not trying to say like you have to be a certain type of thing or whatever, but like if you're a true fan of Miley Cyrus and like the art she does, you should know that she hasn't been on tour since 2014. So I think it's wild if she's not doing all kinds of performances everywhere that you would go to a fucking film festival and think, without her team specifically promoting it, that there's going to be a huge performance for a visual album. Like, I just, I don't know. So I don't know. That got me. And then I also just didn't like, why are people just yelling at stars like that? Especially if they're there trying to have a discussion with other people they co-created this art with. And you're like not even appreciating the newest thing that they're providing you. That's probably the closest to like what they're actually feeling in the moment. We're just like yelling at them, like in the middle of discussions. Like, I don't know. That felt really wild to me. I thought she was
entitlement.
Yeah, and I thought she handled it really well, but I'm curious, and I know it's not the end of the world, but it just as like a person that's not on social media very often right now, like seeing that, I'm just like, what the fuck are people doing? Like, I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, I feel like this has been a semi-disturbing trend lately in the form of this like entitlement from fans on like expectations from artists, and it's not even expectations on like concerts or certain things. It's like this where it wasn't a concert and then you're just like going and then you're like, I spent this money for this, so you better sing The Climb, this like this. If you know anything about Miley Cyrus, she's like talked about like her struggles with separating her Disney and her hits, and like how this album feels like the closest to her herself and like feeling more connected to herself and her journey, and then she's just getting yelled at. But like it just reminds me too of how many like you've seen the last few years at concerts where fans are like throwing shit at
I
artists and like
know.
hitting them, and then I'm not like a huge, oh my gosh, I might get yelled at and canceled for this, but I'm not a huge Chappell Roan fan.
Yeah.
But like I know she's very outspoken about like I will quit music if fans keep doing like harassing her or saying these things. And I think that brings in the discussion of like the celebrity. Yeah, you become famous, you're a celebrity. I mean, a lot of artists you think about too is like you're really good at your art and then you become famous. That's not necessarily a part of like some people want that, but like some people
Not
want to make
everybody want that. They just want the freedom to make art.
They want the freedom to make art, and that's amazing that so many people love it and they can share it. And then there becomes this thing of like, well, now you're expected to, and I think this is like what we talked about the Miss Rachel thing. You're expected to then be like full access, like you have to be doing whatever the fans want. And then some of these fans, like you said, I'm like, are you a true fan if you're really, this is what you're going into this film festival for expecting?
Performance.
I would hate it as an artist, and then it would almost feel like I would feel bad too, because then you're like, this is about the art and it's more than me because there's other people that helped me create this vision, and now it's turning like I'm not able to highlight them and highlight this discussion, and it's focused back onto me. Yeah, it's, and I think with social media and everyone recording everything and wanting to like get the
clip.
the clip or like them like busting out in song at the film festival, so then we're trying to like force them into it or whatever it is, it just feels icky to me.
It felt like the comments came to life in this situation, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it's really easy when someone posts a video online to say just like wild shit in the comments that you probably wouldn't. I just saw a Kiki Palmer interview where she was talking about this. Like, why are we you would never go up to somebody and say that. And it's like, well, that actually just happened. Like the stuff that they were saying in that room with her was, I'm like, this is what you would expect to see if someone posted a video like sing the climb in a comment, not and not that it's better to just do it on on a comment like that, but like still, I will also say two things. One, I'm thinking of like, I saw a video of even just Billie Eilish performing and she got hit in the face with like a necklace. It's like, why are you throwing? I get you want to share something with them, but like it hit her in the fucking face while she's singing. Like, that's crazy. And people were getting hit in the face with cups and like all kinds of
like Cardi B or someone got hit with something, so she threw something back.
Yeah, she threw something back.
And then she got like flack for that. And I was like, shit, someone's like throwing beer on her while she's fucking performing. I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? I'd be like Mean Girls when she actually kicked that little like what is the little radio right into that guy's face in the first aisle. So I think about that, and then I also think about like, good for Miley. Like, I know she can't really do tour mostly because her vocal cords and voice, but I also think that like, think about everyone who's doing tour. Like, it's such a like, I think of I'm not a huge Katy Perry stan, but I'm thinking about everyone who's just shitting on her tour online. And it's like,
they are. Yeah.
Oh, people are going, and I'm not saying like, oh, it's wonderful, we should just respect it. But I am just like, man, the level, like if she didn't tour, would people be mad? If she didn't tour in the most like popular way? And is that part of the art or not? Like, is that part of, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. So I see why people don't want to do that. But the only other thing I'll say, and not that I want to give grace to the people who are screaming, there were people who after this event went online to like defend themselves that said they bought the tickets from a resale, like a second party like place that made it seem like it was a concert. But I don't know. At some point there's like
a little bit of a dum-dum. Take personal responsibility.
That's like if you get a spam text and they're like, you need to pay your toll bill. And it's like, then you check the email. It's like from qprfs.edu. And you're like, this isn't real. Like,
and you pay for it and then you're pissed off at
like
the WSDOT for
the
toll. And it's like, well, actually.
Exactly. We can't control every spam that happens on this planet. Yeah. So I don't know. I could probably go on and on about it, but I'd be interested from our listeners, from our fans, what you think about this. So please put in the comments. But I kind of think that that's like where we should wrap the pod. I don't know about you, but I guess, let us know what stories you want us to cover. We'll perhaps do them.
Yeah, let us know what stories you want to cover because we'll be taking our summer break in a couple weeks. So don't forget to hit follow and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on all the latest sports and society stories.
And please, please, please do not forget to rate the pod. But in the meantime, stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll catch you next time.